Good day, grade 10s. Welcome back to your lesson. Today we're going to be carrying on with animal tissue, but in today's lesson we're going to be looking at the four groups of mammalian tissue. Mammalian tissue is divided into four groups. The first group is your epithelial tissue, followed by your connective tissue, then you have your muscle tissue, and lastly your nerve tissue. Epithelial tissue covers the body or lines body cavities, organs, passages, and ducts. There are four types of epithelial tissues that you need to remember. The first is squamous epithelium. This type of tissue has a thin, flattened cells, and they are found on the surface of the skin and the lining of the mouth, the esophagus, the vagina, and the alveoli of the lungs and blood vessels. Their function is to protect underlying tissue, and it also allows gases such as oxygen and carbon dioxide to pass through the alveoli of the lungs. It also allows substances in solution to pass through the blood capillary walls. Okay, so the next type of epithelium tissue is the columnar epithelium, and you'll see in the diagram that there are elongated cells with an oval shaped nucleus at the base. They are usually found in the lining or inside the intestines, and their function is that they support other cells. And in the small intestine, they aid in the absorption of food, water, vitamins, and salts, and have a microvilli, which are like those hair structures, and they increase the surface area for absorption. The next type of epithelial tissue that you find is ciliated epithelium. And if you look at the structure, you'll see that they have a cilia on their free surface, and they're usually found in the trachea and on the nasal passage. And their function in the trachea, the cilia move dust particles that are trapped in the mucus towards the pharynx where it is coughed out or swallowed. And in the fallopian tubes of the female, the cilia help to move the egg towards the uterus. The last type of epithelial tissue is the cuboidal epithelium, and it appears like a square shaped in section. It lines the kidney tubules and glands, and its function serves as a circulatory and absorptive function. Connective tissues or supporting connective tissues supports and joins other tissues in the body of mammals. There are 6 types of connective tissue, but one well-known example of connective tissue is cartilage. Cartilage is found at the end of the bones within the trachea, and it keeps the trachea and the bronchi open at all times. It also connects the ribs to the sternum. It also prevents damage between the bones in joints. Another example of connective tissues are bones. Bones are important because they make up the endoskeleton in mammals. They also give shape to the body. Bones protect internal organs, and muscles attach to bones, enabling movement. The bone marrow produces red blood corpuscles, white blood cells, and white blood cells. Another type of connective tissue is your areolar tissue, and it is the most common tissue in the body, and it occurs beneath the skin of the epidermis and between other tissues and organs. It supports and protects organs and muscles. It also stores fat, which insulates the body. Another type of connective tissue is your yellow elastic tissue. When you touch your upper ear, what you feel like is that cartilage rubbery structure, and that is your elastic tissue. It gives shape to the ear. It also holds bones in position in the body. Then you have muscle tissue. Muscle tissue helps to bring about movement in the body because when a muscle contracts, it shortens and it pulls where it's joined to. There are three types of muscles. You have your skeletal muscle, also known as your voluntary muscles. Then you have your smooth muscles, known as your involuntary muscles. Then you have your heart muscle, known as your cardiac muscle. Skeletal muscles are those muscles that are controlled by the will of the mind. Um, they attach to the bones of the skeleton and enable movement, for example, walking. Smooth muscles are muscles that are not controlled by the will. They are involuntary muscles and have an unstriped fibers. They are found in the walls of digestive, respiratory, and reproductive system and blood vessels. Then cardiac muscles, also known as your heart muscles, they are found in the heart and make up the walls of the heart. They are responsible for the pumping and the action of the heart. Then the last tissue is your nerve tissues. Your nerve tissues are also known as neurons. Neurons allow nerve impulses to move throughout the body. There are three types of neurons. You have your sensory neuron, you have your motor neurons, and then you have your interneurons. Your sensory neurons, they carry the nerve impulses from receptors towards the central nervous system. The central nervous system consists of the brain and the spinal cord, whereas your motor neurons, they carry nerve impulses from the central nervous system towards the effector, the muscle or the gland. And then the last neuron is your interneuron. They are found within the central nervous system, which is your brain or your spinal cord. They connect sensory neurons to motor neurons. And that was it, grade 10s, for your lesson on animal tissues and the different types of animal tissues. You can answer those questions in your notebook.